Sniping is not just firing a rifle from a hidden position. It's a craft that takes time and patience to learn and develop. During this presentation, we are going to examine a wide variety of subjects, all necessary for a serious study of sniping. This is intended as a historical study and for entertainment purposes only. The word sniper originated with the British in the 1700s in India, where the snipe was a favorite game bird. The bird was small and fast, making it a difficult target. A successful snipe hunter was called a sniper. It was the American War between the states that first saw the use of expert marksmen armed with telescopic mounted rifles as an organized form of warfare. These men were called sharpshooters, and their main function, as it still is today, was to deliver highly accurate fire at key targets in an effort to weaken the enemy's fighting ability and morale. Interestingly enough, sharpshooting has changed very little since the Civil War technique. The Germans not only copied the American style of sniping, but also the term sharpshooter, which in German is Scharfschütze. But it's the British term sniper that became popular to describe the expert military marksman who is still feared by all combatants in the modern battlefield. At the beginning of World War I, the Germans had a virtual monopoly on sniping. After suffering heavy losses, the British mimicked and developed the German style, so that by the end of the war, the British were able to beat the Germans at their own game. Unfortunately, the Americans had no doctrine or training for the use of sniping techniques during World War I. Between World War I and World War II, only the Germans and the Soviets practiced sniping techniques. During World War II, both the Germans and the Soviets were well known for their excellent sniping capabilities. The British had developed parity with the Germans, but again, the Americans were far behind. After World War II, sniping was considered a lost art in a nuclear age. But the Korean War and guerrilla warfare in later years proved that there was still a need for it. Most of the styles of sniping, which we will examine, are not originally American, but are copied from the German, Soviet, and British styles. Sniping requires a wide variety of skills. An effective sniper must be well trained in map reading and land navigation, communications equipment and procedures, scouting and forward observation for artillery. You must be familiar with various types of ammunition and their uses, as well as their ballistics and effective ranges. He must be able to move slowly and quietly so as not to attract attention to himself. He must be a master of camouflage and small unit tactics. He must be an expert marksman, able to deliver highly accurate fire to key targets. Key targets like
officers. Officers of many armies can be distinguished by actions and by plainly visible rank insignia. Officers may wear uniforms differing from those of their troops in material, cut, and color. They may carry binoculars, pistols, swords, or map cases, and they may use hand and arm signals and communications equipment. During a march, they may occupy random positions or they may ride in lead vehicles or staff cars. Non-commissioned officers. NCOs may be identified by their stripes and general actions in leading and directing troops. Scouts. Scouts may be identified by the mode of their employment. They are natural enemies of the sniper since they can stalk him on equal terms. Crew-served weapons gunners. They may be identified by their proximity to the weapon or its position. Tank commanders. They may be identified by their position on or in the turret. Recruits. Green troops may be identified by their lack of caution. If several of them are hit, others may panic and run. Communications personnel. They may be identified by their equipment and employment. A sniper may lay a productive ambush by cutting wires and waiting for repairmen. If messengers are killed, they should be searched if possible. Helicopter pilots. A lack of helicopter operators can hinder entire operations since ground forces are heavily dependent on helicopters for troop transport and close support. Snipers. They may be identified by the manner of their employment or their possession of telescope-mounted rifles, although many snipers may be armed with iron sight rifles. Snipers are difficult to locate and are usually not seen until they violate a target indicator principle or have fired their weapon. Observers. They may be identified by the use of optical equipment. A sniper must be familiar with all types of ammunition. We're using 7.62 NATO, or the .308 Winchester, because it's the standard round used for sniping by NATO forces. Match. Whenever possible, a sniper should use match-grade ammunition because of its great accuracy and reduced sensitivity to wind deflection. The match round is identified by the word match stamped on the head. It has a 173 grain boat tail bullet and a velocity of 2,550 feet per second. Ball. If match ammunition is not available, ball ammunition should be used. It has a 147 grain boat tail with a velocity of 2,750 feet per second. Armor-piercing ammunition can be identified by a black tip. It has both the same bullet grain and velocity of the ball round. Tracer ammunition is identified by an orange tip and again has the same bullet weight and velocity as the ball round. The tracer round is not normally used for sniping, but it does have its purpose as we will demonstrate. Almost any rifle round can be used for sniping under the proper conditions. Here is some ammunition that either has or is currently being used for sniping. The U.S. M1 30 caliber, also known as the 30-06, was used by the U.S. military from World War I to the late 1950s. The 30 caliber carbine, which was used with an infrared scope for nighttime short-range sniping. The 5.56, which is used with the Starlight night vision scope. The Japanese use a 7.7 millimeter round and a 6.5 millimeter round. The .303 Enfield used by the British. The 7.62 rimmed round used by the Soviet Union and other Warsaw Pact countries. 10.5 used by Sweden. The German 8mm, which was used very effectively during World War II. And the German 8mm Kurz, which was used in the MP-44 for short-range sniping with both a telescopic sight and an infrared night vision scope.
While the average rifleman fires most rounds simply to keep the enemy's head down, the sniper uses a different philosophy. One round, one hit. While the average rifleman fires at center mass because it has the largest area on the target, the sniper has the ability to fire at much more precise points and not always to kill. This is a sight picture for the rifleman. In general, any hit on the target is good enough for the average soldier. But the sniper is capable of pinpoint accuracy. He can damage the night vision system of a tank at long range to degrade its fighting capability. He can shoot out the tire of a tactical aircraft parked 1,000 meters away. He can fire into a small opening into a command post to hit those inside, or even a button on an enemy's uniform. These are some of the standard shooting positions that every marksman uses. Prone position, kneeling position, sitting position with legs spread apart or with the legs crossed, and standing position. But the sniper will modify these positions to suit his particular needs. He will look for something that he can rest the rifle on for support, such as an old well, a door frame. The sniper will use any method at his disposal to achieve maximum accuracy from his weapon, including sandbags. Here's another aid the sniper uses, the rifle sling. This is called the hasty sling. And this is the loop sling. It's not as easy to use and takes longer. You put your arm in the loop, tighten up the sling, and then adjust it for the proper length. It'll hold the rifle steadier than the hasty, but it does take longer. Again, the sniper will use whatever means are at his disposal to put that bullet exactly where he wants it to be. Proper eye relief is also very important. Too much, and you'll have problems seeing through the scope. Too little, and that scope will pop you right in the eye when you pull the trigger. When you use a rifle with a scope on it, Don't use the scope to look for your target. You wave a rifle around this much, someone's going to see it. Instead, spot your target first. Then, bring the rifle into position. It's not the rifle that makes a sniper. Any rifle, if sufficiently accurate, can be used by a sniper. It doesn't matter where it comes from or how old it is. If the need arises, he can use almost anything. But it might be a good idea, if you insist on using captured military equipment, that you have access to the ammunition. Even something that was made at the turn of the century can be used, if sufficiently accurate. And while a sniper usually uses a scope for his job, he has to be proficient with open sights in case the scope should become damaged. All sniping rifles come with open sights. If you think a scope won't do you any good in the woods, you better think again. Because this is what you can see with the naked eye. But upon closer inspection, what have we here? Now, you never would have seen him till it was too late. When you have to clean the scope, don't use a cloth, use a tissue. And the same thing goes for binoculars. If you use a cloth, you can scratch the glass or remove some of the anti-glare coating. When you fire behind a tree, don't take the rifle off of your shoulder. It takes much longer to get the rifle back in firing position. Instead, raise the rifle up so you're still in the cover of the tree, but it never leaves your shoulder. And you just drop the rifle right back down into position. The sniper should always carry a sidearm. He may need short-range firepower. He may be able to neutralize the target quickly and not be able to get the rifle around in time. This is the flash hider on an M14 rifle. And this is a World War II cone type on an M1. Now, how effective are these? Well, here's the M1 rifle without the flash hider. And here's the M1 with the flash hider. It doesn't flash, but some flash hiders make the weapon louder
and make it kick more. What do you do if you, as a sniper, spot something like an enemy anti-tank missile position? You don't exactly want to point and yell, but there's another way you can point. Tracer fire. Fire several rounds into the position, and an observer can spot your tracer fire and then call in mortar or artillery fire to neutralize the enemy position.
One of the most important skills for the sniper is camouflage. In order to be effective, he must see without being seen. There are only two kinds of snipers: the careful and the dead. The camouflage is never the clothing you wear. It's the principles and the skills that you apply. Snipers are both feared and hated by the average soldier because their ability to strike without warning and virtually anywhere. How would you feel if right in the middle of the chow line a sniper put a rifle slug through the soup pot? German snipers during World War II were told that if capture was imminent, to remove this badge. If they were captured by the Russians, they knew they could expect death by torture. If they were captured by the Americans or the British, they were merely beaten senseless. So they were seldom captured, and camouflage kept them that way. Now let's take a look at some other camouflage types. This is the American Tiger Stripe, the American World War II type, and this is Italian, this is Rhodesian, this is French, and this is Czechoslovakian. And last, we have Russian. This is another look at the U.S. World War II camouflage. This was originally issued in Europe, but it was so close to the German SS camouflage that after several fatal cases of mistaken identity, it was withdrawn and issued in the Pacific. One thing you must be careful of when you use camouflage is you must hide everything. Things that are shiny, things that will reflect light. See how better this hides? And while you're at it, make sure you have a watch that doesn't go every hour on the hour. Some camouflage, like this German World War II pattern, are reversible. This is brown on one side and green on the other. This will enable you to change the uniform from this to more closely match your background. camouflage has a built-in hood, useful for breaking up the outline and shading the face. This is Russian. And this pattern is British. Some may also be removable. Some camouflage outfits have loops sewn into them for attaching foliage. You simply cut your pieces of foliage and stick them in the holes. This is on the German World War II pattern. It serves the same purpose, simply attaching foliage to break up your outline. Strips of burlap can also be sewn on the uniform to give it a more leafy appearance. You can take a standard piece of clothing and by attaching small pieces of burlap to it, make it look more like a bush. This may pass a military inspection, but this will help keep you alive in the field. Elastic bands around your arms and legs can be very useful for attaching foliage to. Pieces of cut inner tubes are very useful for this purpose. Also, string may be used. A sniper's clothing should be seasonal, but not too seasonal. You don't want to wear shorts. It provides no protection for the skin from branches and thorns, and also from insects. And it's rather hard to hide this much bare skin. In the field, the first thing you may recognize is an enemy's headgear. It can be enlisted or officer, or special forces. It may have distinctive insignia. Or it may have religious meaning. Some are easily recognized. Some are known throughout the world. Some may even be friendly. Some are very easy to remember. Others are hard to forget. But you keep trying anyway. See how this helmet shines? And notice the smooth texture. You have to do something about this. Paint won't change the texture, but it will cover the shine. The Germans in World War I were the first to paint their helmets to help break up the outline. This would match in quite nicely with sandbags. The Americans have a camouflage helmet cover, and you can drop the flaps down to break up the outline and help cover the neck. can also be added in the holes in the cover. Burlap can be attached to the helmet, or burlap end foliage. Mud and crushed grass can be used very effectively, but you have to be careful because when mud dries, it changes color. Very few countries still use helmet netting. It doesn't do anything about the shine or texture by itself. But if you add foliage to it, it can become very effective. And it has other uses, which we will show you later. One thing to be careful of, though, when you camouflage a helmet, don't leave a bald spot up on top. And if you put your foliage up too high, any movement is going to be exaggerated. Another item that's very effective is a piece of inner tube around the helmet. This works rather well for holding foliage in a pinch. This is a field hat, preferred by a lot of snipers. The rim can be folded down to help shadow the face. It's very comfortable. And the band around the hat has loops sewn in it for attaching foliage. As we see having been done here. Now that you've camouflaged the uniform and the headgear, you have to do something about the skin. Notice how certain areas of the face stand out quite clearly. You have to darken the light areas, lighten up the dark areas, and you have to absorb the oil in the skin that makes it shiny. This is an Army issue camouflage stick. There are 2 colors on each stick, and it also has insect repellent in it. There are many items you can use to camouflage the skin, either military issue, commercially available, or homemade items. Whatever you use, you must match the background and break up distinctive areas of the face. The hands must be camouflaged also. You can see here just how effective it can be. One item that can be of great benefit is a piece of burned cork. Dip it in some insect repellent. And then apply it to the face. One thing you must be careful of if you're right-handed you will tend to put more camouflage on the right side of your face than on the left. If you're left-handed, the same goes for the left side. You can put a little on this to tone down the skin, or more, as the situation dictates. One thing you don't want to use is grease, shoe polish, or engine oil. It's readily available, goes on real easy, but it's shiny. See how much worse this makes it look? What will work is tailpipe soot or road dust. This will darken the skin slightly and absorb the oil. Mud should be used only as a last resort. It may have harmful bacteria or insects in it, and it will dry very, very quickly. It changes color, and it will peel off. One thing that helps is a green t-shirt. Put it over your head, upside down. Pull the shirt tail around so you can see through the opening and tie it behind your head. The hat is optional. The Germans in World War II favored the use of a mask made out of string to hide the face. Another item, very useful, is a mask made out of a piece of camouflage material to match your outfit. Another item that works is a helmet net. This is widely used by Warsaw Pact forces today. Gloves can also be made out of camouflage material. These have the trigger fingers cut out. These are mosquito gloves. The fingers and palms are cut away for freedom of movement, but still provides protection. And these are commercially available. You can take wire and make a frame for glasses and add a netting over you. Not very effective, but add some foliage, and what do we have here? Or what don't we have here? If you think he's hard to see, you should try looking through a video camera. That's why we added the 2 white markers in the bottom of the screen. Now, would you have seen him? This British sniper is wearing more than just a scarf. It's actually a very fine mesh camouflage netting. It's large enough to cover the head and the rifle. Mosquito netting can also be used, and it also helps keep out mosquitoes. Now let's look at the rifle. Burlap is a standard by many nations. But it can be used for much more than the rifle. The standard rifle may be painted for camouflage, but this is very hard to change to your tactical situation. A better alternative is camouflage tape, applied as you see here. Another useful item is vehicle netting. Rubber bands can be used to attach grass around the rifle barrel and forearm. Another thing that can be used is a sock. It'll hide the rifle and also work well on the canteen. It'll tone it down and keep it from rattling. Some rifle scopes have a built-in sunshade to eliminate glare. Those that don't can have one improvised out of burlap or cardboard, and the burlap can be extended around the rest of the rifle. This sniper is about to learn something about his binoculars. They stick out like a sore thumb. But if you add a little burlap and some cardboard inserts, it makes it much more difficult to detect them. Lacking that, you should cup your hands over the end of the binoculars to help eliminate glare. Something that every sniper should have is a knife. Either a combat knife, a bayonet, or a pocket knife. This is the wrong way to cut camouflage. Don't cut it in the middle of the twig. It can be spotted easily. Cut it back at the base of the twig. Entrenching tools are useful for many purposes, including hand-to-hand combat. Some have a serrated edge and a sharpened edge. The sharpened edge can be used like an axe, and the serrated edge is good for chopping weeds, for camouflage, or to clear out fields of fire. Something the Germans used in World War II, they would drive steel rifle shell casings into the tree, enabling them to climb the tree. Brass shell casings don't work that well, as we discovered. While you're up in the tree, take a sling or belt or strap and tie yourself into the tree. This will allow you to use both hands on the rifle. A poncho or shelter quarter may also be camouflaged and can be reversible. Vehicle netting or a part of a parachute.
can also be used to hide you. Rain gear, such as this British example, are also often camouflaged. If you have to carry extra rifle ammo, don't carry it in a machine gun belt. I have not seen any belt-fed sniper rifles. An ammo box would be a much better solution. At least it's dark color and doesn't shine. But you still have to remove the ammunition from the belt. A better alternative is a cloth bandolier. Snipers rarely use hand grenades, but they can be used as booby traps to cover blind areas. You tie a can to a tree, tie a string around the top of the hand grenade, put the grenade in the can, very gently pull the pin, and set your tripwire up. When the tripwire is pulled, the grenade pulls out, and 3 to 5 seconds later, no intruder. No item is too small to be noticed by the sniper. A piece of cut foliage where it doesn't belong may mean there's an enemy sniper around. Footprints also are very important to look for. The average rifleman is usually outfitted pretty much like a pack mule. The sniper, on the other hand, carries only the minimum amount of equipment he will need to cover the mission at hand. When moving from one position to another, you don't just crawl in a straight line. This is a sure way to be spotted. Instead, you pick your next position. Crawl to it slowly and carefully, and when you get there, you stop and observe. Pick your next position very carefully, and then when the time is right, you move on. This is the British leopard crawl. We're doing it a little faster here than usual so you don't fall asleep on us. And this is the monkey run. A sniper must be able to fire from any conceivable position. If he spots a target of opportunity, he may not have time to look for an ideal position. And he always uses shadows. The sling can be wrapped around the rifle and tightened up so it won't make any noise
and won't catch on anything. When snipers operate in pairs, they must be able to communicate effectively. Attention. You observe. I cannot see from this position. Affirmative. And here are some other hand signals. Enemy sniper. 1. 10. Attention. I don't understand. Move out. Come back in. Cover my advance. Telephone or radio. Dig in. When a sniper moves from position to position, he moves carefully and slowly, using all available cover. If he has to cross a trail, he'll do it in shadows, and he'll strike a balance between moving slow enough so as not to attract attention, and fast enough so he won't remain in the open for too long a period of time. If you should have to cross an open road, it's best to do it at night. But if you have to cross in the daytime, cross as quickly as possible. But be careful about diving into a ditch on the other side. You don't know what's waiting. If you need a higher point to observe from, use a tree for cover and concealment. When you move into a position, this attracts way too much attention. Instead, creep in slowly and quietly. It may take you all afternoon to get there, but if you get spotted halfway there, you just failed your mission, and maybe worse. When you fire, don't jerk away from your position like this. Instead, slowly withdraw. But also, be aware that when you fire, your rifle may kick up large amounts of dust, dirt, and debris, which can be spotted. When firing from a building,
Don't fire from the doorway or a window. Instead, fire from farther back into the house. It makes it much harder to spot you. Is this someone coming through the woods? No. It's a sneaky sniper setting an ambush. Also, notice what he's using for a weapon. Speaking of ambushes, is this someone standing in the open? No. It's a cardboard dummy being used by a Soviet sniper to draw enemy fire. Would you take a shot at this? If you would be spotted very soon after. It's only a mannequin. And down below, where you couldn't hit him, is the perpetrator. Soldiers are wary of booby traps. Some are obvious, some are not so obvious, and some are too obvious. What do we have here? Some seemingly innocent-looking empty boxes. Are they booby-trapped? What's in here? Nothing. No booby traps at all. The boxes weren't booby trapped. They were only the bait. The sniper should always fire 1 or at the most 2 rounds before he quietly withdraws to a new position. If he fires too often from the same position, he will be spotted. And if he can be spotted, he can be hit. All it takes is a single moment of carelessness. We hope you have enjoyed this video as much as we have enjoyed making it. And we'll be seeing you. But will you be seeing us?